how many times do you call an agent and you get their voicemail and it's like, hey, you've reached, I don't know, so-and-so at Engineering Plus, right?
Or they don't even have voicemail.
Well, they don't. Yeah. Beep.
You're listening to Rambling Realtors with Andrew Roach and Ross Bridges. Tune in each week for in-depth conversations on all the latest real estate trends and the thriving West End GTA markets. Go beyond the real estate world as Andrew and Ross share personal and professional experiences to help you find your way home.
It's funny. I feel like when we should just start recording, because it's almost like the second, like you see the recording thing, it's like deer in headlights. It's like, oh, we're on. and now we have all these things that we were going to talk about.
Absolutely.
So the ins and outs of real estate. I mean, you were just talking about, what we're seeing, like maybe with private roads in terms of parcel of tied lands with more communities. I know there's one in Oakville that's been around, established for a while. I'd also like to talk a little bit about what we saw in Miami recently. What I wanted to say about it more than anything is we're really, really lucky to be in Ontario, to have the high standards of our Ontario building code. I was lucky enough to study construction management, like architectural studies. And, you're looking at like, even whether it's residential, which is part 3 of the code, or like, your higher buildings, like the condo buildings, part 9. One of the things I want to give is a little bit of confidence to people, because the stigma in condos, just from based alone on what happened in Miami with a building collapsing. And then there's other buildings where they've basically been saying, oh, no, you all need to evacuate these buildings because they're not safe too, and they could be potentially collapsing. Well, we're very, very lucky in Ontario that we have such high standards of building, So I think that's pretty cool. So for people out there that have been seeing the news and what's happening in Miami, I just want to give confidence to the fact that we're pretty damn lucky where we live. It's just another reason. Quality of construction, right?
I could probably comment on this all day, but it would really just be me blabbering, because to be honest with you, I don't know much about what had happened. I don't know the situation behind it. I don't know, did they use a compromised material? Did they use, I don't know, did they have a big termite infestation down there and they used wood, or was it weak steel, cheap steel that they used because it was, you're trying to save a buck? There's all kinds of reasons why that could happen. Was there a sinkhole? Again, I don't know anything about it, but me, I'll just talk about something.
No, and that's good. That's what we wanted to do. That's one of the things that you do best. With permits, right? We have all of these amazing building inspectors that they go around. There's a reason we have permits in place. People, it'll cost you 2 things, like we've said on previous episodes, time and money. Right. But at the end of the day, the job's going to be done properly, and it's going to be saving from these major issues that you could face down the road when people cut corners, right? And don't get me wrong, corners are still being cut, but it's just difference of quality, right? Quality control, I guess. And like you talked about materials right there, like it could come down to the quality of the cement, right? What is that mixture of cement? What is the moisture rating? What is the amount of epoxy that was added? What is the amount of reefer bar? Is obviously water's the enemy whenever you're looking at it. And we have a lot of water in Ontario, right? So we're always looking at saying, well, how can we protect our homes against the elements, right? You're seeing a lot more of these flat roofs, right, for residential buildings. Now, the reason
trying to go as high as you can without exceeding the maximum height limit.
Yeah. And if you're building higher quality flat roofs, that's great. But the reason we have slopes in Ontario and other provinces, states, is because of the rise versus run for the snow, right? It's to ensure that it's the weight that's being put on the roof. So yeah. That's just one of the things that we wanted to talk about. But you were bringing up before we started about the private roads. and about communities and stuff. And I think that's pretty cool. Maybe you can kind of touch on that for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was going to continue on with that construction thing, but I mean,
We'll do both.
well, yeah, I guess I'll make one comment because on the top of my mind and on the tip of my tongue is there are lots of times when people want to skirt the permit because of the extra cost, right? And I understand that there's an argument to be made. Like sometimes if it's a simple thing, you think, what do I need a permit for? They're just going to come along. They're going to ding me a couple $100. Then they're going to, it's going to cost me more in the long run. My taxes are going to go up, et cetera. And I understand the argument, but it's like insurance, right? I mean, it's one of those things where, what are the chances that something goes wrong? That's probably pretty low that something goes wrong. But the time that it does go wrong, it can be catastrophic. And whether it's an entire condo collapsing, or if it's electrical that it seems fine for years and years and years, and then 12 years later your house burns down, right? And hey, it's just because it wasn't done properly. If the slope, I mean, I got a buddy that's an inspector down in Windsor, and he was talking about how he went to a house and they laid the line to the septic or to the sewer system, right? But the slope was incorrect, right? And so the slope was too flat, and I don't know what the degree was, and forgive me there, but obviously you want to have the right options, right? How bad would it be to have finished a house, done all your landscaping, done your driveway, et cetera, all that kind of stuff, and a year later you've got this ridiculously foul smell coming in. You can't figure out where it's coming from. And it's because the slope wasn't large enough. So you had a blockage and it all backed up into your house. And not only does your house smell like a sewer, but now you got to dig up your entire front lawn and all your driveway and all that kind of stuff and get that corrected, right? I mean, it could be something so simple, and you think, well, why did it happen now? Well, things happen later. They don't necessarily happen the moment you turn it on. Sometimes it just takes some time for stuff to happen. And, you touched on it, right? Like, getting permits and getting the permit basically opens it to say, this needs to be inspected. It's a checklist, right? So that an inspector will come by and make sure that everything is done according to the building code, like you referenced, and done properly. And I'm not going to pretend to be a permit or an inspector expert as to what they'll check, but yeah, maybe they check the slope. Is it an adequate slope? They check the materials potentially. They check the connections. They check that things are fastened properly. And like you said, water's the enemy, right? So to make sure that it's waterproofed. Things are waterproofed. Because again, right, it's not going to happen on the first rainstorm, but it might happen on the 50th rainstorm, and all of a sudden your roof falls in and you just got water pouring in everywhere. And it's been happening for the last 3 years. You didn't notice it because it was behind the drywall, and you've got all this rot, right? It could be, yeah, anyways, like I said at the beginning, it's a bit more of an insurance thing than it is I don't want to pay a cash grab,
Yeah, and no, just to touch on that, like, I think it's pretty cool that the Ontario Building Code gets updated every 4 years. We've got some of the most brilliant minds for builders from all over the world that put their comments and their sense to ensure that we're always making it better, right? Better resistance value for insulation, making sure, like, obviously what we're doing with roofs, we're seeing a little bit less snow. So yes, we can go to more of a flat style roof. We want to be able to be as contemporary in the architectural designs as we possibly can, right? But understanding form, follow, function, right? There are reasons that all these rules are put in place for having the proper standards, right? To ensure that, yes, this home might be standing here for 100 or 200 years and it's passed on. Like, love my neighbors dearly across the street. They painted the exterior of their home in their brick white. It looks beautiful. It gives it a fresh pop. But is that good for the brick long term? And but we're talking maybe 100 years, Andrew. Like,
Yeah.
That's fine. but you still want to have some moisture in the cavity of your property. Like the mortar needs it, the brick needs it, right?
Right. Otherwise
So
it dries out and crumbles.
it dries out and crumbles over time. That's why you don't want to have all of this beautiful ivy growing up your house, because eventually it's going to leak out all the moisture out of the mortar. That's just one example, right? Eaves troughs. There's a lot of people that, they don't like how it looks cosmetically, right? They running their, weeping tile away from the home. Well, they don't want to do it, but what's the enemy? The enemy's water, right? It's getting close to the cavity of the home, and you just touched on it. It can seep into the walls, and then that can be causing mold, that can be causing air quality issues. All of these permutations that we put in place to protect our families, right? Or you think about how many, there was like 140 bodies missing from this collapsing condo in Miami, 140. And yeah, you think they're going to go evacuate other condos? This is not the first time we're going to be hearing about this. We're going to be hearing about this more and more and more. And we're so lucky that we live in Ontario and that we have these amazing standards, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you have to think that what happened down there, like you said, like whoever the governing body is for the Ontario Building Code, they're looking at that and saying, what happened?
Yeah.
And do we have measures in place already that would prevent that, or do we need to make some changes?
I'm going to switch channels a little bit here.
Yeah.
In terms of standards of marketing and focusing on where our time and attention is best spent, right? And I don't know about you, I could just be a full-time marketer spending all of my time and money just marketing for real estate, right?
Absolutely, for sure.
I feel like doing this with you is a chance for us to share, to educate each other, to better ourselves, and not only that, to share this with everyone else. So this is a chance to give back. That's one of the major reasons I got into real estate, is to give back, is to give a voice. You don't know where you're going to find your voice, right? I didn't ever think I would be doing something like this when I started in real estate 12 years ago. Right. But it's an opportunity at this point in our lives to say, yeah, we're giving something back, and this is adding value, versus, hey, I'm the number one this or number one that. There's some brilliant marketers out there, and we talked about some of those big names, and they do some beautiful billboards, campaigns, community awareness, and there's a lot of things there that I think that it's amazing. I would never take anything away from them, but at the end of the day, where is your time best spent? We only have so many hours in a day, so it's giving back to our clients. I'd much rather have a conversation with a client and say, hey, what do you need to go over? How can I help you? I had a lady call me after a decade. I met her back in 2010, 2011. I talked to her yesterday. Lovely woman. She's out in Quebec. She's got some of her children and grandchildren living in her house. And she's trying to deal with the ins and outs, the legal implications of well, what do I do? Right? So we talked for an hour. We came up with a plan. She's on title. She's the only one on title. So that's the first thing you check, is who's on title, right? Because she was concerned that it was her and her daughter that were on title. Or at one point she thought it might only be her daughter on title. Well, she's in her mid to late 70s now, and time goes by. And at the end of the day, that's why we do the research. I'm putting her in consultation with a lawyer so that they can have that conversation and say, well, this is our plan, right? And then we execute the plan, right? So there's a lot of different variables that can come up when you're dealing. And as much as we say, it's business, it's personal. Our job is to take the personal out of the equation, come up with an efficient, effective plan that's going to be cost effective, and execute it, right? But there's so much emotion that goes involved with where families living.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of things there. About giving back, and again, this is one of the reasons why we're doing the show. It's a natural way of having a conversation, rather than writing an article, writing a piece that you're trying to dig into. And yeah, I've done a lot of trying to do a 1 or 2 minute clip to talk about to pinpoint a topic, but a lot of the times having a discussion with somebody, and whether it's you or you're having it with a client, right? Things pop up that it's just a natural, a more natural, way of communicating the point and getting the information across, right? Talks about marketing. Yeah, you could easily be a full-time marketer in real estate and not even show a house or talk to a client ever in your life. I don't think there is any other industry in the world that I've thought of that you would wear so many different hats as a realtor, right? Whether you're a marketer, you're doing admin, you're out there networking, you're showing, you're being an expert. A what?
Psychologist.
Psychologist, right? Divorce mediator. Yeah, thank you. Right, like all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I don't know. There's another industry that you would wear so many hats, but going back to to the marketing side of it. Some people like how you approach it, right? And I think it's the type of personality that you are. Are you in this industry because it's about you and you want just as much business as you can, or are you in this industry with the approach of you touched on it before about community and and giving back and connecting with people and helping people and their families, etc., right? You can feel the type of person that they are through their marketing, right? I think it was Seth Godin, who's an amazing marketer, but I might have been missaying this, but there's push and pull marketing, right? Push marketing and pull marketing. And if you at its simplest core, right, push marketing is like, hey, look at how great I am. Here I am. Look at all my awards, whether they're, a natural award that you won because, hey, you've done a lot of volume, helped a lot of people, or it's a popularity badge, a ribbon, a coloring contest from a local newspaper, right? That like, who's your favorite? And you have everybody email in, give the newspaper as many email addresses as you possibly can, and all these fake people, and like, I'm your favorite. And now you're running around with this fake badge, or these HGTV characters, or I shouldn't say characters, that's the wrong word, but personalities, and you pay them $150 a year, and you get to put their name on your signature. I'm so-and-so approved. Look at me, right? I paid $150 a year and now I'm the best, right? So, or, flip side, or it's a pull marketing. So push marketing is I'm pushing out there, I'm out there, in everybody's face, look at how great I am. Or pull marketing, where this is the value that we're giving. Hey, I want to inform you about this is what's happening. This is what the market's doing. I want to educate you. I want to about what the market's doing, about the type of property that you're getting into. Is there, whether you get a referral because you had an amazing client and they appreciated everything that you did and they want to spread the word, right? Like, just take a look at the type of, and whether it's a real estate agent or it's a car salesman or it's a personal injury lawyer, or doesn't matter. Marketing in general, right? You can often tell the type, like the place that they're coming from based off of their marketing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now we're going to touch on this more on our next episode, but Google reviews. I had another realtor push me for me to give him a Google review during one of my more recent transactions. And it was almost like I felt obligated I had to do it. I don't know about you, but when I ask my clients for a Google review, it's because I know that I've given them exceptional customer service. I've educated them. They've had a great experience. And it's, we talked a lot about our integrity. We also talk a lot about, like, in terms of, wanting to make sure you stand by what you believe in, right? And this is something that we're going to talk a lot more in the future. But at the end of the day, you're only as good as the last person you serve. Our whole reputation can be destroyed in one bad experience, right? Through social media, through all of these. Now, your goal is that you have all these advocates and you have this community, this environment can stand up and say, no, this person is a good realtor. They have done it. But the reality is we all know that things can get watered down pretty quickly, right? So going back to it, I would rather be spending my time calling and discussing with my clients their plans. What do they want for their future? Supporting them, supporting my team. I'm so blessed. You're so blessed to have our amazing teams. The culture, like I even had interactions with other realtors recently. I'm like, you're just not going to be a good fit for the culture of my team. I've gone through that before, and we all develop, we all persevere. I would rather be having an awkward conversation with somebody that gets upset with me because they feel like, maybe I was too transparent. I told them exactly how it was, but I'm here trying to say, yeah, no, this is something that I don't think it's going to be a good fit for this, and this, right? For the most part, you're coming from a place of support, from coaching, from wanting to help others, but sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and tell it how it is,
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a house in particular, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than, for me, like my biggest fear in real estate, I think, is having someone come back to me, I don't know, a week later, 2 years later, and be like, you sold me a crappy house, right?
Yeah,
you didn't listen to me. I didn't want this, right? That's my biggest fear. And thankfully it hasn't happened.
Well, it's tough in our market right now, right? You look at like what could happen with putting in firm offers and like, yeah, okay, so there was saturation of water. We just talked about, look what we just talked about for the first half of this episode, that building code, those qualities, right? It could be the previous owner that has watered down that system because they were cutting corners and those are things, there's things that we can and can't control, right?
No, I'm not saying we can control or can't control anything, but at the same time, what we can do is, like you said, be overly transparent. Hey, listen, based on my experience in all the houses that I've been in and all the home inspections that I've attended, I think I am identifying this as a potential problem. And I'm not saying that there is a problem here, but I want you to to understand that when you go in, yes, in this crazy climate that we've had, this market, that it's going to be a firm offer. It's going to be the only way that we're going to be able to get this house. I need you to understand that there is a possibility that there's an issue here. I'm not saying there is an issue. I'm not saying there's not an issue, but I want you to be aware that this could be a problem and it should be in the budget as well, right? It can be as simple as that, right? Because I think there's so many people out there, and realtors specifically, that are afraid of losing the deal. Right? Again, where are you coming from?
100%.
Right? I would rather you buy the place and I get a commission than me tell you about the potential problems, scare you away, and then you decide to go somewhere else, and then I don't get paid. Right? I think there's far too much of that. And again, you and I have talked about this, I've probably touched about it on the show before, but like the dark secret about our industry is that about 80 to 85% of the 80,000 registered realtors are part-time. Mm-hmm. They go to work 9 to 5 at their normal job, right? I mean, how many times do you call an agent and you get their voicemail and it's like, hey, you've reached, I don't know, so-and-so at Engineering Plus, right?
Or they don't even have voicemail.
Well, they don't. Yeah. Beep. Right. Like, where's the professionalism? Right. So, I don't know. I digress. I think it's okay to be transparent. It's okay to let people know based on the experience that you have. And again, even more transparent. I could be wrong.
No, right? I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And we are coming from a place of serving our clients and looking out for what's in their best interest. We are in a subservient role within our industry, even though a lot of realtors don't think like that. They think like, no, I'm just going to get it done, move on to the next one, which at the end of the day, we do need to sell houses if we want to stay, or you're just going to be out of business. But awareness, right? Like you just touched on, we make them aware of it. Then what problem solving? I think you and I pride ourselves on our problem solving abilities, on being strategists, on thinking quickly on our feet and saying, let's do this, and this quickly. And, I say commonly, like a day in real estate can feel like a week. We're going to be lining up home inspector. We're going to be getting the mortgage side. We're going to be doing boom, 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 boom. And it's a process. So even if you don't win this home, you're going to be, and you're a sponge. we're a team. We're going to be educating you and trying to give you as much of our information while we're going through this experience. And, you know, that's why we're putting the show together, is so people can listen to this. And through our experience, if they were to listen all 20 episodes or 19 episodes, 18, they would say they would gather a little bit more information. So do you think when they were ready to go out and buy their first home, they'd be a little bit more educated? They'd be more of a sponge? Because at the end of the day, all of the information's out there. Yeah. All of the information's out there. We're here as advisors to make sure that they're protected.
Yeah, there's certainly no shortage of information at all. You know, if anything, there's an excess of information, right? And that's part of the problem in and of itself for people now, is that there's too much information. And what do you believe, and how do you organize it? And you know, where's the system? Now, there's going to be a handful of people out there that, I'm totally changing topics here 100%, but hey, we're rambling. That you know, don't necessarily need a realtor, right? Because the way they're good at you know, research. They're good at organizing thoughts. They're confident. They're not afraid to make mistakes, right? That's fine. They can go out there and get it done themselves. And in fairness, I've met a handful of people that have never done a real estate, like they're not realtors, not professional realtors, that have out negotiated the crap out of a professional real estate agent.
And if you know what you want and you're educated and you're not somebody that has to overanalyze, and you can make a definitive decision and act on it quickly, yeah, then you're good. But if you're going to sit there and you're going to be gathering information and you're going to be hoeing and humming, and 2 years later you're ready, but guess what? The home that you wanted to buy 2 years ago is now $400,000 or $500,000 more, or $200,000 more. Well, you know, like, it's nice to have someone who's gone through the experience who can help you, you know, from a psychological standpoint as an advisor. Like we said, we wear a lot of hats, right? So it's that vote of confidence. It's, you know, a lot of people, the speed of trust. You've heard me say it before, right? The speed of trust in business. When you trust people and the process, things happen quicker in business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, all great points. I'm going to change gears.
Awesome.
We were talking about private roads being more and more common. We touched on it at the beginning. It was kind of one of the topics we were going to chat about today. And I think like I said, they're more and more common. We're going to see them more often. And it's because it's new and because it's somewhat rare. People are going to be like, what? Really? How come? Right. And so again, like, coming from a place where we can just kind of educate and let people know so they can digest it, and then it's not so weird. You know, private roads are going to be what we call them in real estate is, when we're doing a real estate transaction, is a parcel of tied land. So it's not a condo, right? It's not a condominium. You don't have like shared, you know, they don't take care of anything. The house in and of itself, the property, everything is freehold. You're responsible for your roof, your windows, your doors, your landscaping, everything. But you pay a road maintenance fee. And the reason why that happens is, I mean, in Milton, it's more common for a townhouse community. So they've you know, a builder has bought, I don't know, an acre or two of land. And you know, there's a main road that's there, and it's a municipal road, but then they have basically just a big long driveway that goes around. It's a crescent, right? And so it's not municipal road, it's on private land. And so the municipality isn't picking that up for road maintenance. Sometimes garbage, right? Sometimes they'll come in and grab the garbage. Sometimes all the garbage bins are at the end of the driveway, like on the road, whatever the case may be. But what they end up doing is they say, okay, well, the road will need to be plowed, right? So it'll be a private contract to plow it, because the municipality won't plow it usually. On an annual basis. And then it'll need to be resealed every, I don't know, call it 5 or 6, 7, 8 years. And then every maybe 25, 30 years, it's going to need to be completely redone. Right. And, you know, again, paving a road, I don't know how much it'd be, but call it like $1 million, right? So you need to start putting money aside to completely redo the road every 30 years, right? So everybody chips in. The townhouses here in Milton are more commonly somewhere around the $85-$95 a month. But that's because you have the density of a townhouse. They're all connected. Now, I'm already seeing some new developments in Cambridge where they're freehold houses. Sorry, detached houses. What I meant to say, right? So you don't have the density of houses along the street. Thereby, for every meter, there's less people contributing to that meter of road, right? In those cases, the road maintenance fee is about $200 to $230 a month, right? So don't be necessarily afraid of them, but be aware that these are going to become more and more common as the strain on the municipal budget becomes more and more. And as the more and more development happens, the municipality is going to say, it's not in our budget to maintain yet another road. So the homeowners are going to be taking care of that, or they're going to want the builders to deal with it. But of course, the builders are going to just download that onto the purchasers, the homeowners, right? So, anything to add to that, Ross?
I've sold a couple POTL, not pothole, but POTL, so parcel of tied land properties. There's one up in Falgarwood that we sold a few years ago. I think that, like you covered it really, really well there. There's different forms that you use for when you're selling a POTL. It's a little bit like a condo corporation in the sense that there are documents that need to be reviewed if you're going to be purchasing them. There's very few that I'm aware of in Oakville, Burlington, but I know that there's one in Aldershot in South Burlington, and in the complete opposite corner up in Northeast Oakville in Falgarwood, there's one. So those are the two that I'm aware of. And here's the thing, the expansion in Milton is going to be immense, right? I can see it happening more north of Dundas for Oakville, Burlington. Yeah, and more of the rural areas that are going to be highly developed. I think we're going to see more of that because, like you said, the strain on the municipality. But I think it'll be a lot population based. I don't think I'll see as many in Oakville, Burlington.
Well, South Oakville, Burlington for sure, because they're already developed, right? These are new things. They're not going to go and take an old road to be like, hey, you're now responsible from here on out. Right. But any new developments, like you said, north of Dundas, right? Parts of Aldershot where they're developing, right? And of course, Milton, where they're developing like crazy, right?
I think it's great. I think it's smart that it's not putting as much strain on the municipality. It's just like anything though, like people have to pay their laneway fees, right? So it's just it's another variable that you can't control, right? But does everybody pay their property taxes on time? Right. So I'm sure there's people that are going on to default on their property taxes as well too, right? So it is what it is.
Yeah, and so actually that's a really good point that I probably would have overlooked, right? It will be just like a condo fee, it will be an obligation where if you don't pay your condo fee, you are in default, and the condo corporation can take action. There will be similar repercussions as well on that kind of stuff, right? I don't know. I mean, they're still relatively new, so I'm not sure how where that'll go. I'm not sure if you can hear the rain or not, but it's just teeming right now.
I just heard lightning in the background, I just heard thunder in the background. I can't hear lightning. I haven't seen lightning, but I heard some thunder.
Yeah. Anyways, maybe the road maintenance corporation would be able to go to your municipality and collect it there, and it goes on your property tax or something like that. So a point being that it's not optional. It's not an option whether or not you can pay it or not, right? It's not like, yeah, you know what, I'm not using my internet anymore. I don't need it as much. I'm going to downgrade it, right? It's part of the fee, right? It's called, like you said, call it your taxes, right? You pay your taxes, and if you don't pay your taxes, you're in default of your property taxes, and they can essentially sell your house right?
Well, the municipalities are quite nice. They just charge you interest, right? So
to a
they're
degree,
they're
but not
making more money. They just charge you a little more interest, and it's just like another interest, but then you just got to pay more money. So,
right, but not forever. If you don't pay your property taxes for 10 years, they don't just like, don't worry about it.
There is an expiry date, right?
Yeah.
So
eventually they take further and further action.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I just, again, wanted to chat just about the property taxes. I think we were going to touch it. We're running short on time here because I know that we've got to stop here with some appointments coming up. I wanted to touch on real staging versus virtual staging, which some people probably have seen. We might save that for the next episode, given the amount of time that we have left here. But
we can touch on it quickly. I think another thing I want to talk about, like now that you're talking about like virtual staging, there's nothing I love more than when you get a client that's really excited and they've seen this beautiful rendering of like this conceptual home on the lot. And they're like, you mean I can get this for $1 million? And then it's like, wah. It's like, no, actually, that's just a rendering of a picture of a home that you could put on there, or they've actually done drawings for that home. But currently there's a lot there for sale. There's a decrepit old home that you could potentially buy for that $1 million. And then on top of it, you'd probably need another $700,000-800,000 to build that beautiful home.
Yeah,
but
at least.
Renderings are funny, right? Like, and I think we can talk about that more with virtual staging and real staging, and we got lots of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, let's save that for next one because I know that I'm going to go on talking forever, and then I'm going to get in trouble by you because you're going to be late for your next appointment.
No, this is fun. I'm glad we did this. Until the next episode.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll make sure you check out the next one that will be starting hopefully with real versus virtual staging and what the differences are and heck what that is in case you're not familiar at all.
And I think we're also going to continue a little bit more on values, integrity, and what that looks like in real estate as well too.